Okay.
Hi everyone, it's BJ Roach from the UMaine Career Center. I'm here today with Dave Fiacco from the Office of Community Standards, Rights and Responsibilities here at the University of Maine for three main questions. So, hi Dave.
Hi, BJ.
Thanks for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about your office and what it is that you do at the University of Maine?
Yeah, sure. As the Director of Community Standards, our office is generally responsible for managing all sorts of behaviors that are reported to us that might violate the Student Conduct Code. And that may include behaviors related to alcohol or cannabis, more serious issues, sexual assault, hazing, academic integrity, all sorts of misconduct that might occur in or out of the classroom. Our primary focus, obviously, is to educate people, help them develop professionally and personally so that they continue to be good citizens and demonstrate good citizenship in our community and the communities that they live in beyond UMaine.
Great. Question number two. Can you can you talk a little bit about academic integrity and why that's especially important and perhaps problematic during this time where students are working online and remotely?
Yeah, of course, academic integrity has always been kind of a concern in higher education. If the integrity of our academic programs isn't one of our core values, then we, might consider getting out of the business. We certainly don't want to do that. We want our academic pursuits to be honest and truthful and valuable to those that view our research in the future. Uh, it in academic integrity involves a whole range of behaviors, and the most common that you would expect are cheating on an exam or inappropriate collaboration on a lab report that you might be submitting, plagiarism, cutting and pasting material that you might find on the web or in some other publication without giving proper attribution to the original author. So those are generally the kinds of academic integrity issues that we deal with. And of course, this also spills over into the online world, and that's where we're finding ourselves now. All of our academic programs are online, and it really kind of lends itself to more academic integrity for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's certainly much easier. And I think people generally feel a little more comfortable in their homes doing these kinds of things as opposed to in a classroom when you're sitting there with 300 students and you're taking an exam that's being proctored. Um, there are lots of online resources that people have ready access to. And what students need to understand is that we still need to hold true to that core value of academic integrity in higher education. And faculty are taking it very seriously. It's not difficult to identify most concerns for academic integrity, and then faculty will have to address that as they see fit and refer it to our office for formal resolution if that's appropriate. So it's certainly a concern. We want people to do honest work. We want them to do good work. We want them to do valuable work. And to cheat, plagiarize, or otherwise fabricate data is certainly not good. And what it tends to do is devalue your UMaine degree as well as everybody else's. If the general consensus is you can get an engineering degree, for example, and you can cheat your way through the entire program, what's the value of a UMaine degree if anybody can get it? If you can't, if it doesn't require some work and really, some fortitude, then there isn't much value to it. So that's our concern. We want the degree to be valuable. We want people to have good, solid skills and information and knowledge as they move out into the world.
Great. What would you recommend for students who have questions about academic integrity? So if they have a question about an online exam and whether or not they can use outside resources, or, when they're writing a paper and they just have questions about, is this my work? Is it okay to use this work from someone else?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I always encourage students, if you have questions about whether something is appropriate or not, ask your faculty. I have never found a faculty member dismissing one of those concerns or questions but they will always pay very close attention to violations of our academic integrity code. And as many of you know, all of our faculty and staff, I mean, they're experiencing the same kind of difficulties that you're experiencing as a student. They're making major adjustments to their programs. They didn't set up their classes to be taught online in large part, and having to sort of be nimble enough to shift to online has been very difficult for people. And understand there's childcare issues and just illness that people are managing. So they're struggling too. They want you to be successful as much as you want to be successful. If you have concerns, talk to your faculty. They get it, and they are very interested in accommodating students that are having some difficulties in these areas. Always better to ask permission, because if you just do it, if you have a vibe that I should probably ask because I'm not sure, then you probably shouldn't do it and ask. So that's my advice. If you have concerns, ask. You can almost always come to some agreement with the faculty member, with your professor, on how to manage something. But once you sort of cross the line, it's a little more difficult to backpedal out of that.
So it sounds like if a student were trying to avoid this problem, just open communication with their faculty member could probably solve some problems before they start.
It absolutely could. And almost all faculty, in fact, I think all faculty have some academic integrity statement and guidelines in the syllabus. So that's a good first place to check. Again, with the shift to online, some of the material in the syllabus may not be entirely relevant, but your faculty can certainly give you some good guidance on, whether it's appropriate to collaborate and in what manner you should collaborate. I will suggest that if you're taking online assessments, online exams, whatever your thought is, that's not the time to collaborate, right? Especially if the exam period is still open. After the exam period is closed and everybody has had an opportunity to submit their exam, then you might want to talk, hey, what'd you get for number 3 and how did you work that problem? During the exam is absolutely not the time to do it, just like you wouldn't do it if you were sitting in a live classroom.
Absolutely. So just, acting as if you were in a proctored exam in a regular classroom and
Yeah. As you know, BJ, integrity really matters when nobody's watching.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, we all have a tendency to do the right thing when everybody's watching. What's really important is what we do when nobody's watching.
Wonderful. Great. I think that's really important, advice and information for students, because this is all new to all of us. Some of our students haven't taken a single online class before, and then all of a sudden, here we are.
Yeah.
So question number 3, what advice do you have for students during this crazy time? It could be self-care advice. It could be tips about working online. What would you tell students if you could give them some success advice?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm learning, I'm an older gentleman. I transition a little more difficult. I have difficult transitions to the online world. You have to give yourself some space to make some mistakes, to learn the technology, to learn the material in a very different way. For one, I'm a very visual learner. So if I were trying to learn some math processes, I kind of need to see that. And it's much more difficult online than it might be in a classroom where I can interact very immediately with the faculty member. I can see it on the whiteboard. I can talk with my fellow students about that. It's a little more difficult to do that online. So give yourself the space to make some mistakes, give yourself some space to learn the technology, and recognize that your faculty are experiencing the same anxieties, the same issues that you're dealing with. The very short commute from, your bedroom to your office, right? Those of us that work, it's like that 10 or 15-minute drive is a nice transition and we're kind of gearing up, whereas now, we're moving from a room to the next room, and that's our commute. You don't really have time to shift gears from your home life to your work life. So try to find those very clear, defined boundaries for your work. And that may mean, you get up at 8 o'clock and you actually, put pants on I mean, maybe that's sort of the indicator that the workday's starting,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
we joke about that, but everybody out there knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. A tip that I would have for students is something that I stumbled upon today is go outside. I feel like I've spent so much time cooped up at home. I feel like I'm working where I live and working. You could work 24 hours a day. And I think students could do the same thing. You could get consumed in schoolwork and, just go outside, go for a walk, go drive through and get an ice cream if you can. The weather is getting really nice out. And I think it helps with your mental health. I think it helps to just take a break. Then you can come back to it and be productive again. So
Yeah, that's
I would
absolutely true.
I
Yeah.
would say get outside. So I have one bonus question for you just for fun.
Sure.
A lot of people who I've interviewed, I've asked this question of, can you tell our students about your favorite or an interesting part-time job, internship, something that you've done in your past that is completely unrelated maybe to what it is that you do professionally that just really helped you grow or you learned something or you get to use a unique skill set?
Oh, okay. Interesting question. I guess I'll talk about what I've gotten into more recently that has really helped me grow and think about things a little bit differently, and that's beekeeping. So I started beekeeping a few years ago, and I've really learned a lot of leadership lessons and lessons about communities. A colony of bees really has to work very closely together, and they have to have very defined roles, and they have very specific goals. And to see how 20, 30, or 60,000 bees coordinate all that and create enough stores to get them through the winter. They have to create enough honey to get them through the winter. They have to maintain the health of the queen, the single matriarch of the colony. And I've also learned that honeybee colonies are largely female dominated, and they're able to do this very successfully. So I've kind of taken some lessons from that these largely female dominated colonies are very successful, and it's something that we may want to look to in the way of biomimicry. And the males in the honeybee colony drones are I don't want to discount our contributions, but they really don't do anything, right? Their intent and their whole focus in life is to eat the honey and mate with the queen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I knew about the queen bee, but I didn't really understand the whole dynamic.
Yeah. So about 10% of the population are male bees, are drones, and that's their sole function. Interestingly, as we approach winter and the honey stores are becoming more coveted to get the colony through the winter,
Mhm.
the bees, the female bees, the worker bees, the bulk of the population, they start kicking the male bees out.
Oh,
Actually see this on the front door of the hive, around September, October. You can see them actually pushing the male bees out of the hive because they're just a drain on resources, and nobody's mating this time of year. And
interesting.
you keep getting in our fridge and eating the food. So
Clean house.
yeah.
Interesting. I did not know about that. So one last question. If students are interested in beekeeping, what are some resources? Is it the cooperative extension? How do students get involved or how would someone get involved in this?
Yeah, well, recently we created the Black Bear Beekeepers. We
Okay.
have a number of hives on campus, and as the Department of Biology was divesting themselves of their hives, we were able to convert those to the Black Bear Beekeepers club colonies. We actually just installed 4 new colonies last week. We'd love to have students involved. We've got the bees. We've got a nice bee yard that the grounds crew has helped us maintain and develop. We've got the personal protective equipment that you would need. So what you need to do is just reach out to the Black Bear Beekeepers.
Okay.
We do have a Facebook page, and blackbearbeekeepers@maine.edu
Okay.
will reach our student leadership.
Okay.
Uh, and as soon as we're able, we would be happy to put you in a bee suit and take you right out to the hives, and you can get right up close and personal.
Very cool. So students can find you on Facebook. And what is it under on Facebook?
Black Bear Beekeepers.
Black Bear Beekeepers. Very cool. Maybe we can link it under this video.
Yeah, or just email me. I'm happy to get students in touch with other students that are doing this as well.
Wonderful. Very cool. Thank you so much, Dave. This has been very informative, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, BJ. Take care.
Bye.